got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains that last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
All right, y'all, we're here. We're live. It's Tuesday. You're watching Buster Unmasked, and we got an awesome show for you today. But look, before we get started, I want to send a shout out to Johnny Dotson. Look, Johnny's got some issues going on with his health right now, and he needs all of our prayers and our vibes sent his way. Look, forget about the wrestling. I've got to know Johnny Dotson on a little more personal level over probably the last 6 or 8 months. Johnny's a good dude. He's a good dude at heart. He's a good man. Forget about the wrestling, because wrestling divides people. When 2 wrestlers or 2 companies are in the same space trying to take up the same space and they're constantly bumping into each other, you got to do what you got to do in the wrestling business. But look, send all your prayers and thoughts to Johnny, man. He needs them right now. It's the right thing to do. Get well quick, Johnny Dotson. You are the man. Look, guys, tonight's the night. We got the GOAT. Let me tell you something. My guest tonight is one of the most talented guys in our whole territory. He's an EPW mainstay. He is a 3-time former EPW heavyweight champion. And without any further ado, I'm bringing to you the greatest of all time, Mr. K. Swiss.
What's going on, man?
What's up, my brother?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Man, I'm great, dude. I'm so glad you could be here, man. I've been looking forward to this show. I say that all the time, but it's the truth, because I don't bring anybody on here that I don't really want to talk to, man. and, dude, I've been checking you out for a while now, man. EPW, you're a huge part of it. Always, you're one of the top guys in our whole territory, man. But look, let's go back to the beginning, dude. Let's go all the way back, man. Won't you tell me how you even discovered wrestling and what made you want to be a pro wrestler, dude?
Oh, man. You know, when I was a kid, I moved around a lot, and I didn't make a lot of friends moving all the time. And my story with wrestling is so traditional, it's going to sound like I'm lying to you, but I promise I'm not. I actually got grounded and it was sent to my room, and I got bored and I started flipping through the channels on TV. And all of a sudden I see these guys in a ring and they're going at it. And then next thing I know, I hear Jim Ross calling the match and he's into it. And next thing I know, I'm glued to the television.
Right.
I'm glued to it. And I can't even tell you what match it was, because the next day I was like, it's got to be on TV again. So I would sit at the TV every like hour or so. I try to see if it was on. And finally, it was a week later. Oh, there it is again. And I found out it's weekly, Monday Night Raw. And then I got into it. I used to go to the library as a kid and go down there and go to WWE.com and just listen. Back then they had those, you could download ringtones and download all that stuff, you know, your favorite slogans and everything you could download as text tones and all that stuff. And I would just listen to that, and I would watch the videos that they put on there, and I just fell in love with wrestling. And then, you know, I was born in California, moved to Colorado. That's where I found wrestling. I found wrestling just staying out there in Colorado. Nothing there. You know, there's nothing and nobody. But there was me in wrestling. And then we moved to Tennessee to try to find something better, you know. And in the process, I see this big red trailer at this building parked outside of this warehouse in Henderson, Tennessee. And it says Memphis Wrestling, home of rhythm and brews. I said, okay, I got to know more about these people. And at the time, I think I was like 12 years old when that happened. And I wanted to find out what these people were up to. And then I found out they had a show in Henderson, the Carl Perkins, you know, the Carl Perkins show. And I went there. Jerry Lawler was there. That's where I met Jerry Lawler for the first time. I got the picture and his autograph still hanging up in my room. You know, you know, that was awesome to me because, you know, at the time, all I knew was Monday Night Raw. At the time, Thursday Night SmackDown, eventually Friday Night SmackDown. And then met Jerry Lawler, met a bunch of guys there. And then I found out that this trailer that had that same trailer was the ring to that show. And my dad knew the guys. My dad worked for a guy that, with these two business partners, they would work together. And my dad knew this guy that owned the trailer. And he talked to him and said that this guy, Kevin White, had a wrestling school. And for like 2 months, I was like hounding my dad to talk to these guys about training me. I want to train to be a wrestler. And I'm 13 years old at this time. So imagine trying to take that on, you know.
Right.
But you know, I'm persistent. I kept asking my dad every day, hey, did you go by that warehouse and talk to them about training? And eventually, I was 14 years old. Finally, Kevin said, come on down. And he took me on and we trained. Him and Brian Christopher trained me back in 2009.
Both talented dudes. Brian,
oh my
obviously,
gosh.
man, Brian's really, truthfully, I don't think Brian gets the credit he deserves for being as good as he really was. And Kevin too, man. Kevin's a hell of a wrestler in the wrestling ring, man. Both people perfect to be trained by if you really want to learn good wrestling from the basics, man.
I mean, Kevin is a mastermind. He really is. He knows the ins and outs, the who's, the what's, the when, where, and why, everything, put it all together. It's, you know, I believe I had the best training possible. I'm so lucky that I broke in when I did, because the way things are now, people aren't getting that anymore.
Right.
You know, they're not getting that kind of training. I mean, you can get that some places. I know Dr. Tom has his training academy, and, you know, Cody Rhodes has his academy. But I mean, for this Memphis style, how to get over, back where WWE used to send guys to Memphis to learn how to work. And so I think from, you know, Brian, a Memphis legend, you know, alongside his dad, Kevin, a Memphis icon himself, you know, these two guys knew the style and knew how to get over, knew how to get you jobs. And, you know, what I learned from them, I'll cherish forever. Because, you know, and you said Brian, you know, he doesn't get the credit he deserves in a lot of ways. And I think his reputation precedes him.
It does.
And as someone, I'm not going to sit here and say that I knew Brian on the deepest level. I'm not going to say that. You know, he trained me, yes, and we spent a lot of weekends together. You know, I saw the good, the bad, and the indifferent, you know, like.
Right.
Brian was a beautiful man. He really was, deep down. And I think his style in the ring, man, the way that guy worked, he was so much better than anybody I'd ever seen. So much talent. And I would like to see him get his credit too one day. You know,
yeah, Brian was truth be told, Brian was a natural. I mean,
oh, man.
You don't break in the way Brian did and pretty much start. I mean, he went out and wrestled a few matches here and there before he popped up on TV. But I mean, he started at the top around here. You know, he started at the bottom of the top around here, man, and he was able to, from day one, he had it, man. He had it. That's just as simple as that. He had it, dude.
Not only did he have it, he wanted it.
Right.
You know, and you know, Brian, to me, he can make the smallest and most simple things mean so much. And I hate that he's not around to teach that to people anymore. I wish he could, you know, and I'm trying to pass that on myself. I train people myself. And, you know, I've heard people say that Brian had more talent in his pinky finger than most people had in their own body. And I don't deny that. Like, Brian was one of those guys, once in a lifetime guys, Memphis icon, Memphis legend. Never be another one like him.
Yeah, he was definitely a full-blown showman, man. Here, look, I see a lot of guys when they talk about working in the wrestling business, when you hear them talk, you can tell they're talking about in the ring and the moves. Well, that ain't really working. I mean, working is everything you do, from your entrance to just all the little small, subtle things that plant seeds in people's head. That's what working in the wrestling business really is.
Oh, yeah.
And the dude was a natural, man. There's no doubt about it. He was a natural and tortured soul at the same time, though. I mean, he just was. He was a tortured soul at the same time.
I mean, he had problems, but who doesn't? You know,
exactly. Everybody does, man.
The problem with a lot of people on that too, they want to talk about him in a negative way, but it's like, if their problems were as public as his were, I mean, they'd look just as bad or worse.
Oh yeah, think about being Jerry Lawler's son. Just growing up, being the king's son in Memphis, Tennessee, having to go to school, the things he probably had to deal with just by people knowing who he was and who his daddy was. It's a hard life. It's a hard life for wrestlers, but it's a hard life on their families too, especially when your daddy's this legend, you know, Memphis legend, man. It's got to be hard. It had to be hard at times growing up, man.
I mean, wrestling was the only job Brian ever had.
Yeah.
It was the only thing he ever did, and he did it from a young age and climbed the highest heights and fell the lowest lows. I mean, he has a story that unfolded in front of everybody, and I think because of his lack of privacy, it does a disservice to his reputation, because a lot of people didn't get to see the beautiful side to Brian. You know, the actual good soul that he was. You know,
it's just like the news. It's just like the news, man. People only care about, they only want to hear about the bad shit and the tragedies, man. They don't care about the good things. They focus on the bad. Well, look, let's focus on you for a second. Now, at 14, your dad finally goes and talks to these people. Do you start training right then at 14?
I walked into the warehouse where they were training. I told him what I wanted to do. He asked me a bunch of questions, and keep in mind, I was a big kid at 14. Like, I was already like 5'8", 5'9",
right.
About 200 pounds at this time. Like, I'm a big kid. I played football, you know, played basketball. I was very athletic as a kid, and so I was kind of stocky for my age. And Kevin, he asked me a few questions, and he pulled out the paperwork, and I signed it, and he started teaching me right there.
So let me ask you this now. At 14 years old, you've discovered wrestling. You've been a fan for some years now. Now you're actually here. You're in the middle of the ring. Talk to me about the whole first meeting, like how nervous you was actually going to meet these guys and knowing that there was a good possibility that, hey, your future starts right now. You're going to start training probably. Talk to me about that, man.
I wouldn't say I was nervous. I was really excited. You know, I had that hunger that I was like, I'm finally getting to do this. I'm going to do it. It wasn't a doubt in my mind that this was the right choice. And I didn't even know Kevin was doing it. At the time, like I said, I'm very new to the South when I got into it. I didn't really know about Memphis wrestling, you know,
right.
And so, but I did know about Brian because he had been on WWE. It took me a second to recognize him, because I guess in my mind at 14, it's like, that can't be that famous guy, you know.
Right.
You know, like he just looks like him. No, but it was him. And, you know, training, man, was crazy. Like, it tested me. Like, the first day in there, I mean, something as simple as learning how to protect yourself, a roll.
Right.
I learned that wrestling was not as easy as they make it look. And then you start getting into the you know, the higher athletic stuff, and the, you know, the cardio and the endurance and the stuff that really makes you question whether or not you still want to do this. Like grown men at this time, mind you, like
Right.
I'm with grown men here. Like, I'm not with other kids. I'm in here training with, you know, the who's who of the training academy, and I'm the only kid, and I figured in my mind back then, I gotta compete with somebody. So I picked the best one, the one I thought was the best, and tried to do everything like him or try to get better than him.
Right.
And I think because of the way training was, listen, I love Brian to death, but when I was training with Brian, I did not like him at all. I want to get that straight. I did not like him at all. He was very tough, very tough. And Brian's methodology was, you know, if you're going to quit, you're going to quit soon, and if you don't quit, you're going to stick around and you're going to do good.
That's old school mentality. That's the way I was brought in the business. That's the way everybody was brought in for generations and generations and generations before, you know, and that weeds out right there, because here's the thing about wrestling. It's toughness and heart more than anything else. If you ain't got the heart for wrestling, you're not going to make it. And that's the first thing they want to do is see if you're a quitter, because if you're a quitter, you might as well get out of the wrestling business right now.
Listen, like, especially you got to look at it through their eyes. Like, I'm sure, like, it's a weird dichotomy between Kevin and Brian. I figure I'm not going to speak for Kevin, but he molded me, and he approached it as this 14-year-old kid. He can actually mold me into the type of wrestler that I need to be. You know,
Right.
like almost like a hybrid, almost like, you know, this is when kids start learning karate and becoming masters at it. And instead of doing karate or doing some other thing, I was wrestling.
Right.
And Brian, you said he's old school. He was so old school, and it took me some years in the business to realize that from his perspective, it must have been like, who is this young kid coming into the business thinking he can stick it out when NFL players, MMA fighters, you name it, have come and quit like the first day of training. Grown men quit. It's too hard. This kid thinks he can hang. Well, I'm going to see if he can. And Brian was tough, but I appreciate everything he did because he gave me so much. You know, he gave me that, like you said, when you're in a match with somebody and you get to a certain point, do you give up or go home, or do you just stick it through? And he was one of those people that drove it in, like, you can't give up.
Right.
And, you know, and so, yeah, training with him was hard. And Kevin was such a technical guy, like hands-on, show you that, like, every move you could think of and the psychology of it all. Like, my training was great. It was awesome. And I try to give that to people I train. I try to give back to the business as much as I can with what I know, what I've learned in the business because of what they taught me.
Right.
But being a 14-year-old kid in the business, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy.
Oh, I can imagine, dude. I didn't break in. I didn't start training until I was 17, and I was like you. At 17, I was 6'1" and 350 pounds. But you still go in there, you're still a 17-year-old kid, and you walk in there and you're training with grown men, and it's a shock to your system, dude. Look, Mark McGee's with us tonight. Let me see. He says, good evening, y'all. Mark, I appreciate you tuning in, man. Happy birthday, dude. Kyle Driver's with us. He said, good evening. What's up, Kyle? Look, dude, talk to me about this. You're a 14-year-old kid. You're starting wrestling training. You've played other sports. Now, I know now you know, but when you first got in there, did you experience the difference in other cardiovascular conditioning for other sports, and then in the ring, did you see that difference?
Yeah. The weird thing about wrestling versus other sports is wrestling in a lot of ways is more demanding because you got to do a lot of things at once.
Right.
In basketball, you got to focus. You got a ball, a goal, and you got to get to the ball and put it in the goal, right? So your endurance is very high pace in basketball, but it's consistent. In football, you know, I played line on the line as on the football team. I was the nose guard for my team my senior year, and right then you're got small bursts of energy there, so
Right.
it's kind of like you don't have to have a lot, and you get to sub out, you get to get out in and out, you know, and you get a break between offense and defense and all that stuff, and then you get into wrestling, and it's like, okay, I got to learn how to speed up and slow down and speed up again, doing that for 15, 20 minutes straight, all while trying to remember the things that I have to do.
Right. You got to constantly think the whole time you're going through all these motions. You're bumping, you're running, you're going through moves. And the whole time you still got to be thinking about what's next. You got to, wrestling's demanding, man. It's just as demanding mentally as it is physically.
Yeah. I'm one of the people that I tell my trainees, wrestling is not what you think it is. It's really 15% physical, 85% mental.
It is, man. And the quicker people learn that, man, and you pick that up, man, it really is a lot easier once you realize, man, that, you know, wrestlers aren't dumb. People have a tendency to think pro wrestlers, especially back in the day, dumb. You know what I mean? But no, most pro wrestlers, a lot of pro wrestlers think on a genius level because you just have to. It's a creative industry, and you've always got to be. If you want to be better than the next guy, not only do you got to be better physically, better mentally, you also got to be better creatively. You got to see what everybody's doing, put on matches that aren't the same as everybody else. At the same time, everybody else is in there nowadays doing every single move they can in every match.
Yeah, I mean, you know, creativity, I think, is such a simple thing that gets too complicated. You know, I don't think that there's anything in the wrestling business that is new.
I don't either.
There's nothing new in the wrestling business. It's just a new way to do it. You know, you can watch the wrestling that goes all the way back to the 1930s where it first started. And they're doing shoot style wrestling. And we still do that today. The arm bars, the wrist locks, the headlock takeovers, all that stuff. We're still doing that, but in a different way. And, you know, you taking the falls and the more dramatic spots in the actual matches. We're just doing everything in a different way. And people, you know, keep it simple, stupid, you know, like,
right.
I mean, the crowd is not thinking too deep like you are, you know, and, you know, the people are only going to remember the last thing that you do. So why make them think about so much that they don't remember anything?
Right. So look, Justin Klein, hold on a minute. I'm sorry, dude. Justin Klein popped in. He said, people think pro wrestlers are dumb because of people with accents like you, Buster. All right, Klein, you're kicked from the show, man. That's the last comment you get on. Break out them red drawers, man.
I mean, he's not wrong.
So you making fun of my accent too?
No, I mean, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's just how you came up, man. And you know, when people hear that wrestling, you know, it takes on a different feel.
I feel like we're getting K-Swiss now.
Oh,
I feel like
man.
we're getting the dude now. I feel like we're getting the dude that gets that heat, man. Look,
I'm always K-Swiss. It's just how much you want, like, you know.
Right. Look, the barbecue man, he says, thanks, Buster, for having K-Swiss. I'm a fan of K. I discovered you at EPW, and I enjoy your work. Cheat early and cheat often, JJ.
I don't cheat. You know, I don't. No, but I appreciate that.
Justin's back, and he said, I give you credit. 2 back-to-back good shows this week, man. You got to give me credit, Justin. I try to do what I can with my country ass. So, look, dude.
Justin's probably the best-dressed man I've ever seen.
Man, I'll tell you what, man, speaking of heat magnets, he's a guy who gets more heat, and he knows what to do with a lot of times.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why they had to separate us because, you know, people hated me and they hated him, and they didn't know which they hated more, so they had to get us torn apart before one of us got hurt.
Really, y'all fighting for the same spotlight right there, man.
Yeah. No, I don't know. We share it kind of good. We share it well.
So look, man, we're on the Southern accent and stuff. So talk to me about being a kid who was born in California, then moved to Colorado, and then moved to Tennessee. Talk to me about that culture shock of, I mean, I assume Colorado and California, they're different, but maybe kind of a little similar in the same way. But then you hit Tennessee, and it had to be a total culture shock for you.
Well, in California, see, in California, it's a lot of people in a small space. And so as a kid, I'm used to seeing a bunch of people at once, you know, and where I grew up, it was a place called Keys, California. It's just outside of Modesto, California. Modesto, California is not a bad place, but it's not a good place either. A lot of gang activity there. My cousins were falling in and out of gangs, you know, people getting, you know, killed and whatnot. And
Right.
it started getting really close to family. So my parents decided, you know, my mom, her stepdad had a house in Colorado that he built, and he wasn't living in it. So he told my dad and my mom to go out to Colorado. He'd rent them the house, and it was on a 10-acre ranch. So I was living pretty good.
Right.
And the culture shock there was now you go from a bunch of people to nobody. You know, I mean, my closest neighbor was probably a good mile from me.
Right.
I mean, you're not close to people at all. And the school was small. I think the whole school only had like 300 students. You know, and it was kindergarten through 12th grade.
Right. I went to
Like,
a school just like that, dude. Had a few more than that, but just like it. Probably about 600 students. Kindergarten through 12th grade, man.
yeah, and then, you know, my mom and my dad, they decided, you know, they didn't like the fact that where there was nobody. And my mom always had a dream about moving to Tennessee ever since she was a little girl. So they decided, you know, why not? You know, we're living out here in the middle of nowhere. Why don't we go somewhere with some culture? And we found culture. Oh, we found culture. Oh, we found a lot of it. And I'm telling you, man, when I first got to Tennessee, I couldn't understand a dang thing that people were saying. Everything sounded like a new language.
Right.
Forget about talking to people on the phone. That was altogether different. I mean, and then you realize there's different versions of the accent, and then you get down into the Louisiana accent, and that's just horrible. I still don't understand that.
Dude, I
But
don't
yeah,
even
so
understand the Louisiana accent half the time, and I dated a chick from Louisiana for a while, and I still have a rough time with that one, man.
yeah, and the people are different. See, look, in California, people are they can come off rude, but that's just their culture, you know. Like they're very straightforward, right to the point kind of people. And Southerners are more laid back, you know, very hospitable. Hi, how you doing kind of people. California is not like that.
Yeah, down here it's the aw shucks people, man.
Yeah. So that itself was crazy. And then you add on top, I just fell in love with wrestling in Colorado. Now I figure I can do it here. This is great.
Well, look, man.
So
go ahead, Kay.
no, I was just gonna say, like, you know, being in the South actually became a blessing because I wanted to be in California for so long, but everything I wanted was in Tennessee. You know, so I like the Southern culture a little bit better than I like the West Coast culture a little bit, but my roots are always in California. My family's always there. So I'll be a Southern boy, and just have ties in California for the rest of my life. And eventually I want to go out and work in California and work that style too, and see if I can bring that back out there.
Right. Well, you know, I'm a big believer in fate, man, and you falling in love with wrestling and then ended up in Tennessee. Man,
Yeah.
that sounds like a lot of coinky dinks all clicking together right perfectly for you, man, for your dream that you want to chase, dude.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, looking back on, you know, hindsight being 2020, it's just it couldn't nothing. The way it all was put together, it was organized, designed, whatever you want to call it, but it was perfect.
Right.
Absolutely
Look,
perfect.
Justice back, he said, hey, K Swiss is leading the most hated poll right now. That's probably
Most
pissing
hated.
Justin off.
The most hated on out of all those who say they get hated on.
Hated on. In 80 songs.
Yeah, there you go.
I get exaggerated on.
Yeah.
A big fan, dude. I ain't really a fan of the modern version, but man, a big fan of the 90s version, dude.
Oh yeah. Good music. I'm a huge music guy, and early Eminem was one of my tops.
Me too, dude. I look, I growed up, man. I started with rap on the Fat Boys and Run DMC and Kumo D and all that. And then in 87, a friend of mine's cousin had lived out in California for a little while, and he brought the NWA album back. And when I say album, vinyl, the very first NWA, and we listened to that thing on this record until it just pretty much deteriorated, dude. I'm a fan of all music, to be honest with you. Here's the thing, music and pro wrestling are pretty much universal all over the world. I'm figuring out, man, you can find people imitating pro wrestling pretty much in every culture there is. And obviously music is the soundtrack of life, man. It's just as simple as that, man.
Everybody loves a good show.
Right. So look, dude, you're 14, you started training. How long did you actually train before you had your first match?
Okay, so I'm 14. I'm training. Kevin and Brian I trained for a year and they wanted to see if they could get me in a match. But listen, like trying to convince promoters to put this kid on their show, it's not going to happen. It's just not. And I was getting a little discouraged. You know, people were having their first matches and people all around me were working. And I'm the guy who's going to the shows, putting the rings up, taking it down. But all I'm doing is playing the music, you know, and I'm not taking anything away from the music person because they're very important for what they do. But I mean, at the time, it's just not what I wanted to do. And I was getting a little frustrated. And finally, Kevin had this idea. He's like, all right, well, the main problem with that, you're 15, I'm 15 now. And Kevin said the main problem is I look too young. But if I can not look young, it might be better because, like I said at the time, I'm playing football and stuff in high school. I'm pretty stocky, so they put the hood on me.
Right, that's the go-to for everybody, man.
Yeah,
put the hood on you, dude.
Yeah, they put the hood on me, and I became a character named Kid Thunder, and I still have the mask to this day, and they put the hood on me, and I started right then, 15 years old, working matches.
Well, look, man, you're talking about couldn't get a match being young. You know, nowadays you wouldn't have any problem. I see kids in the ring at 11 even, or even younger sometimes. Sometimes it's to the point where it's ridiculous. I'll be honest with you. But that ain't the way it used to be back in the day. Back in the day, man, if you were underage, like you said, they put the hood on you. They hid your ass. If they were going to use you and put you out there, they hid you because they didn't want nobody to know how old
and you're doing
you
the job. You're doing the job. You're not going over.
Definitely doing the job. Look, Justin's back, and he said, could have went to Arkansas. They put 7-year-olds on shows. He's right, man. That's the honest truth, dude. If that's the honest truth, it's ridiculous.
I mean, but who do you blame at that point, though? Do you blame the promoters or do you blame the kids getting booked? Because I'll tell you right now, at 10 years old, if somebody would have allowed me access to be on a show, I would have taken it.
No, I don't blame the kids whatsoever at all. The kids are, hey, I would have been the same way, dude, man. I had to wait, man. Even at 16, I was 6 feet and 300 pounds, you know, almost 350. So, and I still had to wait. And then I went and did train. I had to lie on the paperwork. We had to say I was 18 and just lucky nobody checked, you know, nobody checked anything.
I remember back when Mississippi you still had to get a license to work in Mississippi. And I was working a show in Mississippi and, you know, I had to say I was 18.
Right.
You know, at the time, I think I was 17. I still had to put it down. And it's just, but it's one of those things where, man, like people are desperate to put on shows. Everybody wants to put on a show. Everybody wants to run a show and they're willing to do whatever to get it. So it's like, I blame the kids a little bit. It's like, you should want to be trained right. If you're going to do it at all, you should want to know how to do it. But at the same time, the promoter has the responsibility of training people and minding who they book and not just doing something to save money.
And here's the thing, you just said it. Here's the thing, all kids at 7 years old as a kid, all you see is play. You see that wrestling ring, it's like a trampoline to you. That's what you see. You're not mentally capable of mature enough to understand all the other things that go in with wrestling. And that's
Yeah.
one reason I'm not big on training, like having kids so young, under 14, 15, 16 years old. You need a certain amount of mental maturity to even get into this business, to even try to understand it. As a kid, all these kids see is, man, I get to get in the ring and do all this cool stuff, and they're going to let me. I blame the promoters, because at the end of the day, it's their show. They got the call. And here's the worst part: when you see these kids get in there, and then you see your other grown men wrestlers in there with them selling their stuff. Selling these kids stuff, and then you expect the fans, when these guys come out to wrestle their real match, you expect the fans to buy this shit after that. It's not going to happen. You're shooting yourself in the foot.
It does you no favors. And also, you know, the promoter has an obligation to put on a show that's worthy of watching, and that goes as far as hiring people that are worth watching, you know, people that are going to be safe, people that are going to, you know, draw a crowd in. And I think the problem is, a lot of people, they use these young guys, you know, like 14, 15 years old, and use them for free, because it's at the means of saving $1. I mean, everybody's still, you know, giving you a hot dog and a handshake. You're still going to those shows, you know what I mean? But with these kids, they don't even get that. You know, they just get a free match, and then there you go, fill the card. And, you know, I'm going to, at the risk of sounding hypocritical, I wouldn't train anybody under the age of 18, given the way the world is now. Like, you know, there's so many different lawsuits you can catch and stuff like that. So we personally, I mean, like, everybody needs to sign waivers and everything like that. But, you know, that you're putting yourself at risk when you're going to depths that deep.
Right. I agree with you, man. Look, you've been trained. They done put the hood on you. It's time for your first match. Now, I know you got to be somewhat nervous waiting to go out that damn curtain or door, dude. So talk to me about that very first match, man.
You know, first thing I thought is, I can't see in this damn mask.
Or breathe, man.
Yeah, I can't breathe, and it's smashing my face. But you know, it's one of those surreal moments, really. Is like, finally, I'm getting in there. I'm finally able to do this. And then it's like, you hear the music start playing, and you're like, oh no, here we go. All right, can I? And then the second thoughts come, you know. And then finally, it's one of those moments I'll never forget. As soon as I open the door and I walk out, I felt at home. There it was. You know, I knew what I was there to do. I knew what I came to do, and I was very confident that I could do it. And I go out there, and then the first match I had, man, I broke my nose. 15 years old, broke my nose, reset it myself, because I didn't have any health insurance. Get health insurance, people.
Right. No, nobody did, man. Nobody does at this level.
Yeah, I didn't have health insurance. So my nose, it wasn't like broken like badly. I just popped it back in. But yeah, I took the guy hit the ring, like, you know, Triple H does this move where he jumps up, grabs a guy, and goes down with him, and they do like a knee face buster thing.
Right.
Essentially, I did that, but the guy bounced off the ring as I'm coming down, and his knee came up into my face, and it hit me right in the nose. And yeah, it made it a match to remember.
So you get through this first match, you make it back to the back, man. How relieved were you that it was over? That first time was out of the way, man.
I don't know if I was relieved that it was over. I remember being excited and wishing that I could still do it. You know, my nose hurt a lot, so I was kind of like, all right, I got to fix this.
Right.
And then after that, I was nervous, because I knew that Kevin and Brian were we recorded all the matches.
Right.
And I knew they were about to go back to training and point out everything I did wrong, and force me to fix it.
Well, you know, you talk about, you know, when you get in there, and then all the nervousness and all the antsy kind of fades away. Here's the thing. Being well trained in the basics and knowing how to actually get in the ring and wrestle and handle yourself goes a long way of helping that, because at least if you know one thing, you're capable of actually getting in here and doing the moves and going through the motions. You know, you may not understand how to work or none of that stuff yet, but if you got someone in there with you that can help you along and lead you, if you're well trained with the basics, you can get through a match and have a pretty good match, man. Your first time.
You have to have something to fall back on when the cool stuff doesn't work.
Right.
You know. And I'm not knocking anybody. There's just a new style of wrestling that's been taken over for a little bit. You know, and people like to do what they do. I'm not knocking anybody. There's a flavor for everybody.
Right.
You know, I'm not hating on the guy that prefers heavy metal over classic rock. I'm just not. Uh, but at the same time, what happens when you're at a place where that kind of flavor isn't well received? You know, what do you
Right.
fall back on? And like you said, if you know the basics and you just know the basics of working, then you can entertain a crowd and still get over.
Yeah, man, the foundations, that's one thing I see with young guys. Like we started this thing out, man, being well trained goes a long way. I see too many young guys that when they get in there, I mean, you can tell by their lockups and just their foot placement and stuff that they don't really have no idea what they're doing. They're just someone showed them this stuff and they're just imitating what they see, and they don't know none of the technicalities of any of this stuff. And it shows. It don't take long for you to get exposed when you're like that, man.
Well, and I think that's due to a lot of incompetence. I think the wrong people are training people. I think there's a lot of people that are in the business who shouldn't be, and I'm not naming anybody. I mean, you can find that in any general area.
Yeah.
You can point at anybody and say that that person shouldn't be in the business, but um, people are being trained by people they shouldn't be trained by, and there's a thing about the wrestling business that is getting forgotten more and more as you see this newer stuff come out, is that it's an art form. You know, it's an art, it's a craft. It's not something you're born knowing. It's not something that you can just learn overnight. It takes years of hard work of trying what doesn't work and seeing what does. It takes years of understanding the business and studying it, and you know, looking at people's matches and seeing what they do and how it works. You know, and
Right.
people forget that it's an art form and you got to put your work into it to make it art. You can't just throw paint on a wall and say that's art. You know, you gotta paint a whole picture, and that's what wrestling is. And you know, I feel like people have gone away from painting portraits to just finger painting at this point in a lot of ways. Uh,
Bulls are,
and me, I take it personal because you know, I want to have good matches. I don't want to just do cool moves. I want to have good matches and tell good stories, and you know, things that people can remember. Love me or hate me, whatever you want to do. But I think a lot of people go out there to just get the attention, instead of trying to get people captivated by what they're doing.
yeah, man. Here's the thing: wrestling is all psychology. It's just as simple as that. If you want
But
people to invest in you and what you're doing, you have to draw them in, and you do that from thinking up here. Look, here's the thing: you can go out there and do a bunch of great moves, and you can get big pops off of these moves. But wrestling fans will pop off of damn near anything. You can get a
look, wrestling
pop, but
fans
it's a
are idiots. Like they're really freaking stupid. Okay, let's just face facts. All right, like you can do anything and get a reaction out of these people. You know, like it's really that simple. You ain't got to do nothing special. They've seen it all. You know, pretty much. And
right.
so, don't insult what little intelligence they have, and try to do something that you don't know how to do at the sake of trying to do something new.
Right. To me, it's almost like the take a comedian. Here's the thing. Like you said earlier, there's nothing new. We're all doing the same stuff. It's just how we do it. You can take two comedians, you can put them in front of an audience and they can tell the exact same joke. And depending on their delivery, they liable to get two distinctly, totally different reactions because it's
Yeah,
all about delivery. Wrestling's the same way. We're all doing the same stuff. It's just how we do it, how we put it together that makes it unique to us, you know?
yeah. I mean,
And
you
that's
look
what
at some of
people
the greatest
identify
matches that,
with.
yeah, you look at some of the greatest matches in history. Hulk versus Andre, WrestleMania 3. What did they do? They did some punches, some kicks, a bear hug, and a body slam.
And a body slam.
I mean, and 70,000 people erupted. Where did that go? You know what I mean? And I think when people stop caring about the craft, when people stop caring about making it art, I think they stopped caring about making it believable. And that's what they had back then was believability. Whereas today we just have like, oh, everybody knows it's theater. Well, to me, it's a
Right.
lot more than theater. I'm in there, you know, working as hard as I can. Like ask anybody I've wrestled with I'm there, and it's just, you don't have to do a lot, but whatever you do, you have to put a lot into it.
Right. I'm with you, dude. It's like we don't have to make it believable because they know it's not real. Well, that's look, a fucking movie ain't real when you go to the theater, but if the director does his job right, while you're in there for them 2 hours, you're right in the middle of that movie. You ain't thinking, well, this is fake. You're thinking, wow, this is, you get drawn into that world, and wrestling's the same way. But that goes back to psychology. Too many people now put their whole shows together, matches and everything off of just, here's the moves we're going to do, instead of thinking about what story we're telling and why are we doing these moves. Because me personally, I always let the story dictate what I actually did in the ring. I didn't just go in there and do random shit for doing it. I only did what I needed to do to get this part of this story across to the fans. And if you do everything you can do in every match, what are you going to show people to surprise them somewhere down the line? Even if it's a simple drop kick, I'm a big guy. You never seen me do a drop kick. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, you see me do a drop kick, a simple drop kick, people's going to pop on it because they've never seen me do it, and it's new. It's a surprise. He can do a drop kick. I mean, wrestling in general, period, everything about it is built off psychology. It's as simple as that.
I mean, and Kevin and Brian and they had psychology more than anybody else. They knew how to put matches together. They knew how to make the little things work. Like I talked about Brian, he was so good at making the little things mean so much. And then and I think there's a lot of that new school stuff that's coming out. I get it. You want to get some nice, cool, innovative stuff in, and you want to. But at the end of the day, it's like, who are you working for? Are you wrestling for the fans, or are you wrestling for yourself? Because when you start wrestling for yourself, because you want to look cool, not because you want the fans going home being like, dang, that was good. I don't care what anybody says. Those guys were in there fighting each other, and it was back and forth, tooth and nail, the whole bit. I don't want people going home not saying that. I don't want people going home saying, that guy did a lot of flips, or that guy, they did so many things. I didn't know what was coming next, and then all of a sudden it was over. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear somebody basically call my match back.
Right.
Because it was so easy to grab. And it's just, people don't have that anymore.
Right. Look, here's the thing, man. Sometimes I sit around, I talk to other old guys like me, and sometimes I think, well, it ain't that what we're saying or what we believe is wrong. It's just time has moved on. Here's the thing: wrestling is what it is now, and it is moving. You're not going to bring it back. So sometimes I think, man, maybe it's us. Maybe we need to kind of quit harping on all these fundamentals and basics that everybody's harped on for the last 140 years of wrestling until now. But it still boils back to, we want people to go home and we want to be in their heads, and we want them to want to tune in next week to see what's next. I just want to pop because they're doing. Because here's the thing: are you really doing cool shit when everybody in every match before you did the exact same flips? And I mean, they might have done them in a different way, but they're still flips. If one guy flies over the top rope and lands on 6 guys, I mean, why does another guy need to do it, man?
And listen, I'm not hating on that. I'm not hating on that style. Like, there's a lot of matches that I watch that are, from bell to bell, that style. And it's crazy to watch. And, there's a lot to what you said when, the business has kind of passed us by a little bit. It's innovated. It's evolved into something similar but different. And I'm excited for it in a way, because I look at guys like Marco Harris, Jason Genesis. You look at all these guys, incredible talents, doing things I wish I could do. And, I can't hate on that, because these kids are good and the kids coming up are good. It's just, we need people to not forget that, there's an art to this, and
Right.
do
It's
what you do,
definitely an
but make
art.
it matter.
Yeah, it's definitely an art. I'm 100% with you on that. It's 100% an art form, man. And it takes time and it takes experience to actually get good at it too. It ain't
Yeah.
something. I mean, you can be a great athlete and go in there and you can do all the moves and do them correctly, but it takes time to learn how to work that crowd and get that crowd where you want them when you want them. You
Yeah.
know,
Uh, psychology, like what makes people react, what makes people think, what's going to drive people crazy, what's going to make them happy, what's going to make them mad. You to make people feel all these emotions in 15 minutes, you got to
right?
be a psychologist in a way. You got to probe at different parts of them and see what's out there, put your feelers out there and see what makes people tick. And and like I said, a lot of these people, they ain't that smart. You can win them over with anything. I'm not hating on y'all. It's not y'all fault. Uh, but no, and like I said, in a lot of ways, I'm very old school. I'm only 28 years old. I'm not that old, but I was trained very old school, and I
Right.
appreciate the old school style so much. And it does me a lot of favors because one, I ain't got to do a lot. So,
Right.
and the reaction from the people, the chills you get when people react in the way that you wanted them to, but better. Like when you get that reaction that you had planned in for the match, when you get that and you walk in the back and you get it, there's nothing like it.
Right. It's
There's nothing like it.
satisfaction that, there's a satisfaction in having an idea and a plan you want to execute, going out there and executing it. Man, it's a satisfaction like none other. To me, it is anyway,
Yeah. I mean, I actually kind of look forward to the guy waiting outside the parking lot for me because he hates me so much.
Right. So look, man, you had your first match at 15. So let's jump forward. Let's jump to today. Now you're a former 3-time EPW heavyweight champion. Man, here recently you've had some big matches with some big opponents, dude. And
Oh
look,
yeah.
I don't want you to take this the wrong way because these are worldwide known guys, man. But in both
Yeah.
matches, excellent matches, hard fought matches, but you seem to be coming up a little short. And here's the thing: it's not just me saying that. You kind of admitted the fact that you just hadn't been yourself lately, man, and you're looking to get back in the winner's circle. So, look, first of all, James Storm. Let's talk about this match. The Cowboy James Storm, big star, worldwide known. Y'all had a hell of a match, but just a smidget, man. You come up just slightly short. So talk to me about what you're going through right now, man. Because here's the thing: I've been watching you probably for the last 2.5, 3 years steady, and you always keep your composure. You're always cool, calm, and collected in the ring. And here's the thing: for 28 years old, when I watch you work, I can see your experience. But having all that behind you, what's it like when you take a big loss like that on TV from a guy like James Storm?
I mean, first of all, when you go into a match like that, there's no fear. You can't run. And I wear the suit that says "Do or Die," and I get that from the United States Army. Ours not the reason why, ours but to do or die. I'm not
Right.
in that. I'm not in that situation to reason if I should do this match or not. I'm already here. Now, while I'm in here, I can either go out here and perform and beat this guy, or I can lay down and go home and check out. So going in, like, let me tell you something. James Storm is a solid guy.
Right.
Solid. He's a lot faster than he looks too. A lot faster. And then out of nowhere, he kicks me with that super kick right under the. He can place that thing, man. And it's one of those matches where I feel like I did a lot to him.
Right.
I picked him up, I dropped him, I did everything I thought I could. For a guy who took a chair shot in that match to have the wherewithal to know to duck the next one and clean my clock, basically, I got to tip my hat to him. But at the same time, it's like we could run that one back, and I promise you, like, it wouldn't be the same.
Right. So
And
go ahead, Kay.
and I'm just gonna say, like, James Storm, as good as he is, I'm still the greatest of all time, and that's not just a moniker. I mean that. Like, put someone in there who's better than me. Like put someone in there who outshines me, win or lose. You don't outshine me.
Right. No, it was a hell of a match, man. It was a good match. Like I said, there was one point where I thought for sure you had it in your favor. I thought it was in the bag, and it's the wrestling business, man. If you take your eye off the ball for 1 second, man, you can get got. And you, like I said, you come up short with James Storm, and then I seen you a week or two later. You had another big opponent, man, Michael Elgin. This dude's another world travel guy. He is truthfully one of the very best in-ring talents in the whole world. There's no doubt about that. He is one of the very best wrestlers in the whole world. So talk to me about facing Michael Elgin and once again coming up short in that match, man.
Well, Mike Elgin's a little bit different. I tend to like James Storm a little bit more than I like Mike. Taking nothing away from him, that guy is a machine. He is a absolute brute in the ring, but so am I. And that match, I'll tell you what, that's probably one of the strongest matches I've had. As far as like someone being just a brick wall trying to take down. And listen, it's been forever since somebody's picked me up and slammed me down. So yeah, hats off to him there. But it's just like James Storm. He's one thing, but Mike Elgin comes in there and he's this guy. He's the top. And he wants to come into EPW and act like he's the best of the best, and they put me in there with him. And I'm not gonna lie, he got the up and up on me. But again, like same thing as James Storm, I don't lose and then forget. I lose and learn. So run that one back, and I get that one too.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like it was a blowaway, like he just went in there and beat you. It wasn't even like that at all, man. It was a hard-fought match. But you said something about wanting to. You need not just want. You need to get back in the winner's circle. So look, let's talk emotionally, dude. For a guy who's been the 3-time EPW heavyweight champion to now be taking consecutive losses back to back. Talk to me about how that plays on you mentally, man.
It's humbling, I guess you could say, because you see these younger guys that doing things that you wish you could do. And I mean, not to put these guys over at all, but in some ways it might be a little better than you, in certain ways. And just knowing that, what I've done and what I've accomplished is enough proof. I don't have nothing to prove to anybody. I've done it all, and I've beaten them all. And getting back into the winners column, it's one of those things where I gotta quit putting myself in positions where winning isn't even on the table. And I think that's my problem. I got a little bit of a temper, Buster. I don't know if you knew that. I got a little bit of a temper.
I've seen little flashes of it, dude, in your work, man.
Yeah, so sometimes I get a little hot-headed and I step on the gas when I need to be pumping on the brakes. Matter of fact, look at what just happened on TV. Came out, Daniel Nova hit me with a clothesline, knocked me out. That should have never happened. Never happened, but there it is. And I think, if I could just, I don't know, maybe if I could just control the temper a little bit, maybe then I'd be rational enough to actually win. So that's on me. But I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get in the winners column, and I'm coming for the strap. There ain't no doubt about it.
Well, look, man, like I said, you've been EPW champion. You're always a huge part of the EPW product. So talk to me about EPW itself and what EPW means to K-Swiss, man.
EPW is my home. I love that company so much. And listen, I've worked a lot of places. I've worked all over the Mid-South. I've worked for Burt Prentice. I've worked for Randy Hales, Bill Dundee, the who's who.
Right.
And all of them great promoters, right? And there's some bad ones and there's some good ones. And EPW is the one of the few shows where I felt like I belong here. I belong in this place. This is where I need to be. And the reason I felt that way is because now the people around me care about my success as much as I do.
Right.
And, I think there's a lot of dog eat dog in the business, and that's just the way it is. That's the business. Politics are a huge part of the business. Oh, you shouldn't put the belt on him. This is why you should go with me. People help you up the ladder just to kick you back down,
Right.
So, yeah, it is what it is. But EPW is one of the few places where I felt like my ideas and what I wanted to do was appreciated, and also it was reciprocated. They give you as much as you gave them. So
Yeah, man.
EPW is my home.
Dude, like I said, I found EPW, the modern version, because I used to put old wrestling shows on, and I had some old EPW stuff long before Neil took it over and everything. And by putting them on and just seeing the chatter on Facebook, I discovered that the EPW was still a thing.
Yeah.
And dude, man, I don't think nobody can deny that Neil has took EPW and took it to amazing places, man, amazing heights. I seen that y'all just opened up like a ton more My 50 stations through Mississippi. EPW is growing like a weed right now, dude. It's growing
we're blowing
fast.
Up. We're blowing up.
It's one of my favorite wrestling products out there right now. It's one of the shows that I can always watch and enjoy. It's not too flashy. It's Southern wrestling. It's what wrestling should be, man. In my opinion, dude.
We offer a product, man, that is unique in all its own. We're not trying to be super traditional where you look like every other show that runs, and we're not trying to be so edgy that we're pushing boundaries that we shouldn't be pushing, and looking like we don't know what we're doing. Neil, man, that guy, he has a thankless job. He really does. And I don't really even like the guy, to be honest with you, Buster. The guy has not done me many favors. He's actually cost me championships, but you got to respect him. You got to, there's got to be a certain level of admiration that you have if you meet Neil and you see, what he's done for EPW, because he came in and listen, when he came in, TV was hard to get.
Right.
Nobody could get TV. I remember when Lawler was trying to do TV in Memphis back years ago when he was doing Jerry Lawler's Memphis Wrestling, and that little itty bitty ballroom. I remember being there at those shows, and that didn't last too long because, at the time, TV was hard to maintain. And now, Neil comes in the picture. We're pushing better stories for people. We're also bringing in people that people in the area haven't seen before. And all together, we're bringing in better talent too, as well, with better matches. And I think the talent that we have today is crazy. And Neil promotes this stuff like the best promoter I've seen, hands down, who's willing to go above and beyond for the promotion. And it's a thankless job. And not that I like the guy or nothing, but yeah, he deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, man, it's a good product. Like I said, it's one of my favorite products out there. Maybe exactly my favorite product out there, especially TV product. I just enjoy it. It reminds me of the wrestling I grew up on and the wrestling I wanted to do and be, the wrestler I wanted to be,
Yeah.
Dude, K, man, we're going to have to start wrapping it up. But, man, look, before we get out of here, man, I want you to tell me if you had one dream match that you could get in the next year, one dream opponent for you, man, who would it be?
A dream match for me, oh, man. There's so many people that I could say. There is a guy I would love to work. He doesn't wrestle much right now. But maybe if he sees this, he might put the tights back on it and go. And he is actually a fellow Kevin White trainee. I would love to work Cody Melton. I would love to get that match. That man is super talented, and he has a lot to give the business. So, Cody, if you're out there, I'm waiting.
There you go. We're making matches, dude. So look, you get back in the winner's circle. Obviously, K-Swift, 3-time former EPW champion. Surely you got your sights set on this belt once everything levels out, man.
Yeah. That's always the goal. That's always the drive. You know, if you don't have something to drive you, then what are you doing it for?
Right.
I mean, the championship, that's where you prove that you're the best. And I can't call myself the best if I don't have that. So I'm coming for that. I don't care who has it. If it's Marco Harris, whoever, it doesn't matter. I'm coming for the belt.
And that's why they call you the GOAT, man, the greatest of all time, dude.
Absolutely. I don't call myself that. They call me that.
They call you that. Kay, man, I appreciate you so much, dude. This has been a blast for me. I thank you for giving me your time and coming on and being open like you have been, man. I've really enjoyed it.
Can I say one last thing?
Dude, you can say anything you want, man.
If you are out there and you're watching and you are interested in being in the wrestling business, go to epwwrestlingms.com and sign up to train with us. You know, we'll get you started. We'll get you going. We'll train you right. So if you're interested in being either a wrestler, referee, manager, or whatever you want to do, holler at us and we'll get you going.
There you go. Y'all heard it right there. Good training, man. That's where you need to be. You want to be successful in the wrestling business, it starts with the basics and the training. It's as simple as that. K-Swiss, man, like I said, my pleasure. And, dude, you have a great night, my friend.
Thank you. You do the same.
All right, guys, you seen it right there. K-Swiss, good interview, man. I really like this dude. Anybody out there looking for training, epw.com, go check them out. Anywhere, if you're anywhere in Mississippi around Booneville, Mississippi, go check out EPW. They're not just in Booneville, that's their base, but they run shows all over Mississippi. Go check this show out. It's an awesome show, awesome talent, always action-packed shows. Guys, tomorrow night, 7 p.m., Too Legit, Justin Daniels will be here. And then Thursday night, 7 p.m., the AIWF World Heavyweight Champion and Mr. Pro Wrestling Mid-South himself, the Golden Boy, Greg Anthony, will be with me. Guys, I appreciate everybody who watched. Until tomorrow night, y'all take it easy.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains that last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah. Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show